Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to work on some hair sticks. I have a show coming up, and I like to have at least 6 sets of hair sticks, and I'm down to 5. So I'm going to make 2 new pair today, and so we have the 6 plus an extra. So let's turn down and get to work on them. Okay, I have 2 piles of beads here, one for this one, which is going to be some mainly flowers, and one for this one, which is going to be mushrooms. I have these really cool mushroom stainless steel cutout charms from Bead Box Bargains, and I have these cute little red and white mushrooms, as well as one crystal and some little red beads, which I actually took out of Softflex's Design Challenge Kit, Sunset Splendor. Then we have some various spacers and bead caps. And as well as some crimp tubes and a couple of oval jumprings. So we're going to use some white quartz Softflex medium beading wire. I'm just going to cut off a length here. And this is probably way more than I need, because I don't make a really long strand on my hair sticks. We don't want them to be too overpowering. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a crimp tube on my piece of wire. Then we're going to go through the mushrooms link here and get this crimp tube put on here. Come on, baby, go down. There we go. Down to where it's wiggle. It can still move, but it's not real big loop. So about right here looks good to me. So we'll get our magical crimpers out. They have a divot right there in the middle. You want your crimp tube right in the middle of that, and then you squish and turn and squish until it won't squish down anymore. Makes a nice little round ball there, and we're ready for our beads. So our first one we're going to put on is this little red one. It's going to be at the top and at the bottom. It'll go through fine, so no problem there. Then we're going to put on one of these ropes, small rope spacers, then a large rope spacer. Now hopefully the rope, yeah, it did. Nextly, we're going to put on one of our mushrooms. Now the mushrooms have a good sized hole, and you see there, and that's one of the reasons I use, and then so does my large rope spacer. So that's one of the reasons I put in 2 to cover that up with this. Then I'm going to put a bead cap on the top here of this mushroom, and then one of these crystals. Then we're going to go back to the 2 rope spacers, the small and the large. One more mushroom. One more bead cap. And one more little red bead. And there is our strand here. Isn't that cute? Oops, it's twisted. So now, these are for the second one. What we want to do is put on another crimp tube. I may have enough to do both. And we'll go through here, come out here, pull her tight. Now you could have put your jump ring on right now also, and that would have actually worked as a nice pull point. So, but I didn't. So now we're going to crimp this side and turn. Come on, baby, you're sliding up and that's irritating me. You know, this is probably tight enough now that I can cut this line loose. So I'm going to do it a little early because this wants to keep pushing up against my crimp tube, so I can't really get it crimped really easily. So I'm gonna change this, do that, and now I'm easily can get in here and crimp. So there it is. The first one's done. Let's see, do we have enough line to go on? I think we do. But the next step is to open up one of our jump rings here. Put it through our, now that wasn't nice. Put it through our stick blank, and then put our bead strand on and close it back up. And this particular one is finished, so we need to make its mate, and we'll do that exactly the same way. Now I'm hoping I have enough room here because it's not a lot, and I don't like having just a tiny bit like this. And when I do, a lot of times I'll take my pliers and use them to do my turn, because otherwise it's really tight. So we're going to push this through. Just a little bit more. There we go. So now we'll get our crimp. Now I didn't get my crimp quite in the center. If you'll notice, it's not got squished on the top, it's just got squished at the bottom. So we're going to have to get that. Now, because I don't have a lot of room here, I'm going to hold this with my plier while I go into here and try to get that crimp going a little bit better. Oh, that's much better right there already. But I can feel that I'm trying to bump that bead, which is bugging me. We don't want to do that. Okay, there we go. So now we'll open up our jump ring. And put it on our stick. So there we are, set number one all done. The mushrooms, aren't those cute? And now we're going to pull the other set forward and work on them. This time we're going to use some pink pink tourmaline colored Softflex. And I think I'll have enough, but hopefully, anyway, if I don't, then we will have to get some more out of the drawer. So there's our mushroom set. And next to be worked on is our flower set. Now, I don't have a charm for the end of the flower, so what I'm going to do is make one. And to make one, I'm just going to take a ball head pin. I'm going to put on one of these little daisy spacers and one of these type of flower, another daisy spacer, and this little ball spacer. Then we're going to wrap this up. And it will become the charm at the end of our piece. Ball spacer. So then the rest of it is going to be the tulip bead, daisy spacer, maple leaf, daisy spacer, this little pink rose. Well, it's probably not a rose. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Another maple leaf, daisy spacer, and another tulip bead. And then this is going to swing from the bottom. So let's get our I think I already have 2 crimp tubes over here, so let's push this to this side. We only need that, we don't need that quite yet, but we are going to wrap up both of these right now so that we have them done. So in order to do those, I'm going to grab my stepped bell making plier. I'm going to put this in so that the smaller loop is at the top, wrap around, come around, and lollipop it. Now you don't have to leave a gap because we're going to just wrap this up and we'll put the Softflex through it to make our loop to connect it. So up and around and over, bring it down, bring it around, lollipop it, and there we go. So there are then before we wrap, so we'll take hold of our top of our loop where it comes together. And you can do this with your fingers or by pliers. I tend to like doing it with pliers, though I do sometimes do it with my fingers. And just wrap this around. And then we'll cut this off right here and tuck it in. Oops, didn't tuck all the way. There we go. Now there's the bottom of this one. And we're going to do the same over here. Grab the wires where they come together. Switch hands if you prefer. And then wrap this one up. Trim it and tuck it in. So now this one's ready for the other side. Now, of course, the next thing we need to do is cut some of our pink tourmaline. And I don't have very much on this left on this spool, so I'm just going to take it all off. I don't know if I'll need it all for both pieces, but if I don't, it's going to be just a teeny weeny bit left, so it's not going to be worth worrying about. So we'll take our crimp tubes. I noticed there's one in the here, and probably the other one's mixed in here too, though it might be over here. It's over here. There we go. So we'll go through the loop we just made. Bring our crimp tube down. And we'll get our crimping pliers and crimp it right here. Okay, it's pretty tight. Now we're just going to string this up how I have it sitting out here. So tulip bead, and hopefully it will take both of these lines down here. Tight, but I think I can get it to go. There we go. Like I say, pretty tight, but it went. Then we have the daisy spacer, the maple leaf. This one time facing downwards, so the two maple leaves, the other one will go facing up, and that way they'll sort of bracket this pink bead here. Then our tulip bead. So that is going to be our that's a little bit longer than that one, but it'll be all right. So now we'll put our crimp tube on this end, and this time I'm going to put my jump ring on already so that I can use it to pull with. On the other hand, I may not need it because this bead is very, very tight, or it was on the downward side, so I imagine it's going to be here too. It is, and I'm not sure I can get it to go through. Come on, baby. Now, if I do get it to go through, as tight as it is, I'm probably going to want my pliers to finish pulling it. There it comes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers, get hold of the nib here at the end, and just pull. Now I'm going to have to bring my tulip bead all the way down to meet its mates down here, and then the crimp tube, and then we'll take hold of our plier at the tip again. I'm not going to go anywhere but the tip because, let's face it, I'm squishing the wire. So then we're going to pull it the rest of the way down. There we go. And now we're going to crimp that. Now we've got to bring it up a little bit so it has room to clear the bead when we crimp it. And when you do it this way, your jump ring is going to try and get into your crimp. So just be careful that you don't grab hold of your come on, you. You want to get as close as you can to cut that loose, and I did not get very close. See how I have quite a bit of a tail there? Even though I can probably get it, if it's small, to go inside the daisy spacer, that is too much. I need it to be almost right at the bead when I cut it. So we need to get a little more off of here. There we go. And there is our bead strand all done for our first one. So now we just have to open that jump ring that I already put on here up. And we'll hook it to the stick. And then close it back up. Now sometimes you'll notice I tend to drop the stick down to my mat, and that is because then it's not flopping around when I'm trying to close this jump ring, because it's being difficult for me here. But if it was the stick was flopping around, it would be even more difficult. So, and that didn't close all the way. So I'm going to work it forward just a little bit with some forward pressure until I feel them bump, which they just did. So now this first one of these is finished. Isn't that pretty? So there's number one of that one. So we're going to do exactly the same thing for this one. And we will put it together now. Now I notice that I have a little bit of a bend here, and because we already have enough trouble getting through the tulip bead, we don't want to bend, so I'm going to cut that bend off. Now if you don't want a charm at the end of your hair stick, you don't have to put a charm in. If you don't, what you want to do is take a small, where are you at, baby? Right here. There's a, you want to take a ball spacer, which is here, and put it at the end and just loop it around using the ball spacer as a turning point. I have plenty of wire, so I figured I might as well cut those ends off so they're not giving me problems with those bends in them. So here we go. We'll try and get this in here. That one went a little bit easier. That's nice. So again, on our daisy spacer, and then our maple leaf facing down on this one. And facing up on this side. You see how it nicely brackets this pink one that way? Now I have plenty of extra wire here. I'll probably put it aside and keep it just in case I make another hair stick or bookmark or something that I just need about this much line with. But I will, of course, have probably another bend at the beginning of it because we have to do the trick with the pliers of pulling it through the tulip bead. Come on, tulip. Now I think it may be pushing my line because its knots doesn't seem to be showing up, but at the same time it's moving. There it is. It wasn't. Okay. So now we take our pliers, grab hold of that little nib here at the end, and just pull. Now we're going to move our tulip bead back down here to the bottom, right there where it's hitting the other. And then we'll bring our crimp tube back down because the crimp tube itself will keep it from moving if you have it up there too tight. Grab again at the very end and pull down. Now we have plenty out, So we're going to crimp this bead by being careful not to grab our jump ring. All crimped. So now we'll take our cutters and get into here by the tulip bead as close as we can get. Oops, I didn't get it all the way clipped. There we go. So we've got it all clipped, so we don't need this or this anymore. The only thing we need now is our pliers so that we can open up our jump ring. And put it on our stick. Again, I'm dropping the stick down to the mat so that it's not... Come on, you let me get hold of it. Go over there. In my way as much. But it's going to be difficult here. There we go. I need that to stick up just a little bit so I can get hold of it there. And there's number 2. And now you can see we did have a bit of wire left, but not an atrocious lot. I'm going to cut this end off so that if I use it again for something else, I have a nice flush piece of wire here. So we'll put that aside. And we'll put our pliers up. And here are our 2 hair sticks all finished. The flower pair and the mushroom pair. Aren't those pretty? Now this one is actually a little longer than I normally make them. I might have, I like this flower on here, or I might have just made them without the flowers, but I think they all go together really well. I think they turned out really nicely. I hope you enjoyed making these with me. So again, here are our hair sticks. This is the one with the flowers. Isn't that pretty? And like I say, in your bun, it would be hanging down the side, so it is a little long, but it's not bad. So that's the flower one again, with the maple leaves and the flower, tulip beads, and then the other one is, of course, the mushroom, with our 2 little mushrooms and our stainless steel mushroom charm. And again, into the hair, like so. So aren't those pretty? So I enjoyed making these. I hope you enjoyed making them with me. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and everything that I used here was from my stash, except for the little red beads that are in the mushrooms. Those were from Sunset Splendor. Bye-bye.